Today we'll be going over some of the basic installation and adjustment procedures for a M.O.A.B scope base. First thing I recommend everybody do is make sure your rifle is unloaded. I even removed the bolt just so it's not in the way. Once you have a mill standard 1913 1A Picatinny rail installed on your rifle, you can take your M.O.A.B scope base and by unscrewing it, it will come completely open. At this point you can slide it on your rifle base to whichever set of holes that line up with your base rail that you're happy with, and install the screws. To tighten these up, you will need a 3/8 nut driver and an 1/8 inch Allen wrench. We torque these screws between 6 and 8 foot-pounds of torque. If you're going to be making this fit a M.O.A.B 300, you will need to mark a clearance hole underneath the center of this elevating wheel. You can look down through the hole and see if you are going to miss the mounting screws in your base rail, and on a drill press drill a hole for clearance for the extra length of the elevating screw. Those screws are 1/4 of an inch longer than the 150. This is a 150 minute of elevation screw. This is a 300. For the 300 to go down to 0, we need a clearance hole in the Picatinny rail. You just need to make sure you're not hitting one of your mounting screws in the rifle. If your rail is permanently attached to the rifle, you can use a 3/8 end mill and make it 1/4 inch deep. At this point, you can apply a small amount of oil to both sides and to the pivot screws. You want this stiff enough that it will not move without some force, but you want it loose enough that you don't have to bend it to move it. To adjust that, you adjust the tension of these screws. That removes all of the lateral movement out of your top rail. Now you can reinsert your top rail back into the elevating wheel. And screw it back down to your 0 stop. At this time, the pointer and the pointer shaft is only there for a pointer. It is not intended as a clamping device. If you over tighten the pointer, it will bind on the elevating screw and will cause it to bind on how you elevate or lower your scope. The other point that's on here is the set screw here at the top is for the 0 stop only. It is not designed as a wedge or a jam screw. When you are near your 0, that screw is adjusted down until it just makes contact with the elevating wheel, and then it's backed up 1/2 a turn. That way it will stop you on 0 without putting any bind on your device. At this point you can reinstall your scope to your new M.O.A.B. Now if you adjust your base up a small amount, 1 or 2, 10, 20 minutes, whatever you feel comfortable with, and you get a hold of the rear of your scope, if you can feel any vertical lash in there, you will be able to feel as little as 1/2 thousandth. At that point, you can turn your elevating wheel until a set screw appears in the window right here underneath the left side. It takes a 1/16 Allen wrench. You can loosen the set screw, quarter turn, tighten your elevating wheel in a clockwise motion until it becomes snug. Then back it up to the opposite side of the hole and release it about 1 minute of movement based on the numbers on your elevating wheel. Re-snug your set screw. Check to see if this is too tight for movement. If that feels good, did you eliminate the lash here? If it's not where you want, readjust until you get the feel that you want personally. Again, check to see if there's any vertical elevation movement here. Once you have all of the elevation movement adjusted out of it, you're ready to go to the range.